This is Brett Hall, and you're listening in to the Encouragers Podcast.
On this computer. There you go. I got some, I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, it's kombucha.
Kombucha. That's
Some
a
Synergy.
mango flavor. Yeah. Synergy. Kombucha from Synergy. It's pretty good stuff, man. I just discovered kombucha, bro. Didn't know the health benefits before.
But the first thing you should warn people is when you drink it for the first time, don't expect it to be really strawberry guava.
Yeah.
It's like strawberry vinegar. More like it. It's an
Yeah,
acquired taste.
dude, before I've had kombucha before 2020, before the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
But then after when I caught that mug, I started I don't know, I lost my sense of smell and taste a little bit. And I still can't kind of smell, but the taste of kombucha used to taste super nasty. But now
Is your
like I
taste still off?
yeah, bro, my smell is still off. My taste is not fully there because of the smell part of my life. But yeah, now I just it tastes like soda to me.
Yeah.
Now it tastes like a regular soda. You know, I stopped drinking soda for about what, since 2020? No, about 3 years now. No, wait, 2019, 2019, 2021, however
It's a
long
good
that
way to
is.
live your life, man. Don't drink your calories.
Yeah, soda is super terrible for you guys, man. But dude, it's been a while, bro. It's been a hot minute since we linked up. Since
Yeah.
Alpha Camp.
Right. So we got that fire episode still to release in editing process.
Yeah, it's almost finished. Almost finished. Man, I didn't think it would be this difficult time around to edit it, but for some reason,
The
all the
the size of those files, that's why.
dude, yeah, size of the files are huge, man.
Tell people why though, because we filmed it on our phones
Mhm.
instead of Zoom, and we
Yeah,
filmed it in what were the settings? 4K.
4K 60p, some.
Okay, 60 frames per second. Yeah.
Yeah, so we filmed it on that. So there's some huge files. Next time, dude. Oh, nah, next we did it good because now when I push in, when I crop in, it doesn't we don't lose quality in the video. So it's good that we did that, but man, the file size on those on the phone footage is huge, bro.
Yeah, 30 minutes is like 30 gig. It's like just to give you an idea if you're feeling that way.
Hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it took a minute to get all the footage, but we have all of it now, and just in the process of editing it. But we had a trip
Awesome.
to update everybody. It's been a minute. I think what we had last episode was 47. This would be the one we're recording right now on Friday evening, June 30th, the last day of the month. This is episode 48, if we're going to keep it chronological. And then we'll maybe we can release that one, episode 50, for a 50th episode or something. But we were down in Utah for a minute. When was that? Beginning of May?
Yeah. Yeah. Beginning of May, like first week of May
First week of May, we went down
ish.
there to support Coach Kofe and his
Yeah.
awful camp. But yeah, we
That
all
was
came down.
awesome.
Yeah, it was super dope, man. Super dope to see Coach doing his being his element, you know.
Maybe we can include like a little clip of the drone footage that you took in that episode release when we do it on YouTube
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll put all that stuff in there. Put all maybe in this even in this we'll throw some clips in here, but
or in the teaser clip.
yeah, in the teaser clip. But yeah, man, we had a good time over there. It's been since that long since we had a podcast, man. We just been trying to recover ever since.
Right.
Not that we did anything crazy, but just man, just life gets in the way, you know.
You've been traveling too.
Been traveling. and just life happens, man, which is part of our experience here. Just having this
Right.
experience of life. How you
Right.
been, Jake, man? We
I'm
almost had
good.
an incident over there. Well, kind of did, right? I don't know if you want to talk, but we don't have to talk about it. Did we talk about it a little bit in that episode with Coach and them and Aussie?
I think we did.
Oh,
I
okay.
think we did. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
we can
y'all,
tease
yeah,
it out. Yeah. Passed out on the plane. I'll just tell people I don't care. Yeah.
yeah.
I passed out on the plane. My blood pressure dropped too low. And so I passed out for about a minute, apparently, or
Mm-hmm.
something happened. Went away for about a minute and came back to, and my blood pressure stopped too low. But I think it was more like user error with um, just some timing and not enough sleep and exercising too much the day prior and getting up at the crack of dawn at 4 a.m. and leaving. So I think it was a combination of things, because no ill side effects ever since. So
Oh, good.
healthy, healthy and strong since then. So able to exercise every day. I have been implementing since I got back, since I kind of got back
Mm-hmm.
and recovered from the jet lag. I've been doing the zone 2 cardio 4 times a week for an hour, or attempting to get into zone 2. I purchased there's a really awesome exercise tracker. If you listen to Joe Rogan, it's called Whoop, WHOOP,
Mm-hmm.
and it can really narrow down like the different zone. When we say zone, it's kind of measuring like what percent of your max heart rate are you exercising at, and can you keep it constant. So we talk about Dr. Peter Attia and Andrew Huberman quite a bit on the podcast. Those two kind of narrowed down what science backs longevity of health, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and they were walking through the two main things that can reduce all cause mortality. There's one is exercising
Mm-hmm.
in zone 5 of your of your, so zone 5 would be kind of the top end of your heart rate range. 4 minutes on, 4 minutes rest, a set of 4, and do that once a week, maybe twice. So that reduces all cause mortality by 500%.
What?
So do you just think about, yeah. So your chance of all cause mortality is reduced by 500% by doing that once a week, because it's your VO2 max that you're working on. So it's like the max. So you essentially exercising your heart at close to the max range that can handle. And anyways, if I'm butchering some of the details, go to Dr. Peter Attia and Andrew Huberman as they discuss, and especially Peter Attia. He's the one that kind of dives into. He's been on the Joe Rogan's podcast. He's gotten together with Andrew Huberman. So, anyways, do that once a week. The way I do it is the way he suggested, where I do it on the Stairmaster, and it kind of like saves my body a little bit. So I go as hard as I can for 4 minutes, right? So whatever
Mm-hmm.
pace I can keep constant for 4 minutes, and I rest 4 minutes. And then I do
Mm-hmm.
another one at 4 minutes, rest 4 minutes, and it's a set of 4. So one set is a 4 minute exercise and rest, 4 minute rest, right? So that's one repetition. So do that once a week. And so I've been doing that for a month. I can tell you, I feel the difference from 1 month
Good.
already from that.
Mm.
And then the second thing that reduces all cause mortality is the zone. We're gonna have to go to that episode to be accurate, but I can't remember. I think it's the weightlifting, and weightlifting 4 times a week. In 2 of those sessions, I'm doing something to boost my testosterone naturally, which is it is really pushing. It's so the way that you want to do is you want to choose a body exercise. Let's just say squats, right? You want to do a body exercise that you can. Hey, Brett coming on.
What's up, my brother Brett?
He's coming in. Brett
What's,
with the beard game strong.
what's going on, guys? How you guys
What's up?
doing?
What's
What's
up,
up?
brother?
What's good?
Not
Let's
much, man.
Good to
Just
see you.
crashing for the night. After a long, hard day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just talking
Yeah.
about exercising and Jake conquering the world in the fitness arena right now. We're talking about V2. What was it? The different zones, Jake?
So Brett, we're talking about what Andrew Huberman and Dr. Peter Attia were talking about, some health things to reduce all cause mortality, so to help you live longer. And there's two main things the three main things really that you can do that help reduce it a ton. One is weightlifting about 4 times a week, and you can get into the specifics for longevity too, where there's certain rep ranges that are really good. The one I'm focusing on is 2 times a week. I push it where you're doing a pretty big reduction in rest time. So you rest 2 minutes between sets, and you pick an exercise that's full body, like squats or deadlift or bench or whatever, right? But you do 10 sets of 10, and with the lower rest time. So because I found, like, normally when I rest 3 to 4 minutes. I've lifted a lot of years, right?
Mhm.
The 2 minute rest is brutal. And what it does is it induces some pretty crazy lactic acid. That's really what you're going to experience. But the side effect of that for men is you're going to have a crazy boost in testosterone, right? So with me getting in my 40s, I'm kind of focused on naturally boosting that as best possible, because it can help in the long run with recovery and longevity and make me feel better and all those things. So you do one set of 10, but you want only 1 or 2 reps in reserve each time you do a set, right? So you do a set of 10 that you might have only gotten 11 or 12. Okay. Rest 2 minutes, and you won't be able to do the same weight again. So you got to reduce the weight. And if you have a spotter, you can reduce on the fly. So you literally can pull off weights as you fail, right? So you could fail at 6, reduce the weight, get your 4 of the reps in, right? And then rest
Mhm.
your 2 minutes. I try and gauge it so that I don't have to take any break. I'm pretty good at gauging it, so I'll reduce the weight incrementally down. Sometimes it's 10 pounds, sometimes it's 20 pounds, and so I'm still struggling to get that 10, and then hit that 2 minute rest. And it's the 2 minute rest that's the most brutal. By the time you get down to some like baby weights, it is really, really brutal. The first couple weeks that I did it, I couldn't walk for 6 days, which isn't ideal, right? Because you want to be able. That's not like a good measurement of, you want to be able to exercise. You don't want to be so sore that you can't do that. But I wanted to get this program in, and so actually I'm got out of it, and so I'm able to do it now. I'm the end of my first month of implementing this type of program, and then I do lift 2 other days too. So I lift 4 days a week. I do some major lifts. So on one of the days I do squats and bench. On the other day I do deadlifts and shoulder press, and those are my two. And then the other days I do other things like pull-ups and biceps and triceps, and I do kind of like full body exercise in the other days. So lifting weights reduces all cause mortality by 300%, right? And then the zone 5 cardio that we were talking about reduces your all cause mortality by 500%.
What is that zone 5 thing you're talking about? What is that? Just
So,
a
so, so zone 5, zone 2, zone 5, all those things you're talking about it's the percent towards your maximum heart rate that you're exercising. So
mm,
let's just say your heart, that max you can get your heart beating is 190, right? So like 180 is going to be that zone 5. And so there is, you can dive into the explanations, but there's
mm.
different things. So zone 5 is key towards your VO2 max, right? Which is how hard you can push your heart without hurting yourself. And when you push that
Um,
range within reason, it's very, very important for health. Then the second thing you could do for fat burn was that zone 2, which we were talking about, where if you get into zone 2 cardio, where you're it's a certain zone 2 is a certain percentage of your heart rate. So the way to kind of gauge it, if you don't have a measurement, is can you still talk and not be out of breath? Can you breathe normally? Because the moment you
mm.
start to not breathe normally is when you're going into zone 3. Zone 2 is really, really key because you're not getting any buildup of lactic acid. You're kind of tricking your body. Your body's going to go into a really good fat burn and continue burning fat. And so that's what that one is. There's a lot of other benefits of that too. But for people, like, that can be a brisk walk or a really, really slow jog, depending on where your health is at. For
Mm.
David Goggins, he's probably running 7 minute miles in zone 2. But,
You sure he's not zone 10 or something?
right. Right. Well,
It's
again, the
crazy.
zone 2 would be like he can perform at a high level with his heart rate being very relaxed. Right.
Oh,
So that's the zone 2 is being in a relaxed state. And then you can start out ideally once you're in shape.
mm.
Peter Attia recommends an hour to an hour and a half of that. 4 times a week. So you've got the weightlifting 3 to 4 times a week. You've got the zone 4 cardio 4 times a week, for ideally an hour to an hour and a half, but you can work your way from 30 minutes on up, right? So it depends on where you're at with your, set a goal, start there. Anything that you do that's better than you did before is going to be an improvement. But once you're in shape, that's kind of where you want to be at. And then the one zone 5 per week, which would be equating, like, in your head, sprinting for 4 minutes at a time. That's kind of the thing. Being on a treadmill for 4 minutes as fast as you can go, and then stopping for 4 minutes, and then going back and doing 4 minutes again. For me, I've just kind of found the easiest thing to do is the Stairmaster right now. That's what Peter Attia recommended, because you're not really running, but man, your heart's racing kind of like at a slow pace on the Stairmaster, and then maintaining it for 4 minutes and then resting 4 minutes and doing a set of 4 is pretty rough. So, and there's different ways to do it. You can do it on a bike. There's a whole, you can get creative with it, but I want to live as long as possible and feel as good as possible. And I'll say, like, just from doing, I've lifted, a lot of the last 15 years or so, but adding in the cardio and adding in the VO2 max is made me feel different in a good way.
Good, man. That's good. Good for you, brother.
So, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, folks, we're not health
we're not
experts
experts.
by no, you know what I'm saying, but consult your physician before you start V5ing and all of that stuff. But yeah, what was that, Jake? What was that program?
Your VO2 max, yeah. So those zones, yeah. Well, the zones are just, that's a known thing, but Dr. Peter Attia, ATTIA, and Andrew Huberman dive into the science behind it.
Yeah,
and of course, like you said, of course, always go to your doctor if you're, talk to your doctor about exercise if you're not cleared for exercise, and what you can do and how you can work up to those programs. But I really like finding the science behind it for both boosted testosterone, for living longer, and for feeling better.
Dude, I listened to a podcast today talk about testosterone and the decline. Blew my mind, bro. But before we go any further, man, Brett, I just want to, for those of you listening, I want to help, introduce you to one of our brothers, my brother, man, my brother Brett Hall from Sparks, Nevada. Met him when I came back from my mish. There was this tall dude in my living room. Walked in one day, he was just sitting on the couch and he was grubbing, or he was in the kitchen grubbing. I was like, who is this guy in my house? It was my brother Brett Hall, man. Brett, thank you for taking time to come on our podcast, man. Welcome to the Encouragers podcast, brother.
Oh man, thanks for the invite, man. Sorry, I've many times meant to get on here, but life always those curves at you, those things pop up. But yeah, I'm glad I could be here.
And right now you're in St. George, right? So you're about
No, so I'm in Las Vegas right now.
Oh, you're Vegas
today.
Now.
Yeah, I've been in Vegas since Monday, just working and just kind of grinding away. It's that summertime, for sales, it's a busy time. So just been good. Just been working. I stayed at the guy I work with. He lets me stay. He has like a little room here, lets me stay at when I'm in town. So it works out.
Oh, nice, man.
I'll go back to St. George tomorrow afternoon or night, whatever.
Nice.
Whatever happens.
Yeah, man. Jake, when's the last time you seen Brett, dog? It's been a minute, huh?
Just when was the last time we were supposed to see you? One time in Reno when I was out there, and I think something fell through.
Yeah,
something fell through because I thought I was going to see you there, but yeah, it's been a minute, Brett. It's been too long, man.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was supposed to be at Moa's wedding celebration. I couldn't make it up. I've come to find out now that I have a lot of kids, you just can't leave town that easy because you have to find people to watch them and take care of them. So
yeah, man,
that's been a new phase of life for me to learn about. But yeah, that was
all
the
those
last
kids
time.
in all those different states that you worked in, man, that you left behind.
I know
that too, bro.
Girl on every port, right?
Right.
That's what's up, Brett. Most of you who've been listening to our podcast, you've been following us, and you know that our podcast consists of dudes and homeboys and brothers that we all grew up going to school together, college. Some of us went to college together. Some of us played ball together. And then a lot of us met around the Kava circle. But Brett, he was my friend from Reno, and you met Jake and Aussie and Tech and everybody else through pretty much school, right? Like when we were going to school
Yeah,
during
how
that
old
time.
were you though? Notice when you met Brett, you met him first, right? You and Tech met him.
Yeah, so I was what, 20 something, 20,
21, you're just off your mission,
just
man.
off the mish, bro. Yeah,
But I think we didn't hang out till I think I showed up. I was on the football team at University of Nevada,
yeah.
and I was going to church at that singles university ward there. I
Hmm.
think I showed up and I saw you sitting in the back. I think maybe with your sister or maybe like a meeting or somebody like that, and you saw
Yeah.
me
Hmm.
and kind of your eyes lit up. You'd only met me once, and that was we met through mutually through Soma.
Soma, yeah,
But
Soma Helu. Yeah.
but then that was the first night. Like you introduced me to the Kava Circle and all that. So that was all. That's all it all started right there.
Yeah, that's crazy. And
That was
then
the
what
first time.
was it, 20 years
That
later,
was
30 years?
that was back in 2001.
Dang.
So
Yeah.
so that's 22 years ago. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's 2001. I remember, man, like it was yesterday. So
Wow.
I wish it was sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Shoot.
but yeah, but that's what that. And then remember Jake meeting you down there. I was just flying back and forth to Sky Harbor just to go hang out on the weekends with those guys down in Phoenix, and that's when I met you, Jake. You were down there. I think you
We were
were
down there for was it the
selling.
party?
Well, you were down there for selling and recruiting. I
Yeah.
think you were down there, and then I think we just kept crossing paths. I'd go down there, we'd meet the kava mixes, and then hang out. And then we went to that concert together, that Fiji concert. Yeah, just
What was what
all
was
that.
the so yeah, the first time I met you, we were mixing in AZ,
Yeah,
and then the thing that stood out was like the really nice suit that you had on that
yeah, New Year's. Yeah, my
yeah,
doctor's
it
my doctor's jacket.
was like a white suit,
Hey,
right?
you were
White
looking
That was
jacket.
fly.
white sports coat. I think I
Yeah,
still have it.
looking
I think I still
sharp, man.
I think I still have it hanging up somewhere, but I haven't worn that thing for years. I wanted to look good for New Year's, man. I was all excited, man. I thought it was gonna be like a real party, and
Oh, so
we
that
just
was New Year's. That was New Year's.
that
Yeah, it
was
was New
New
Year's.
Year's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were
I
just
think so.
cruising Mill Street.
Oh
That's
yeah, it was
funny.
2006, something like that. 2007.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
2007, 2006, 2007, whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
And then we
fun,
So,
went in.
man.
We went and sold together a couple
mhm.
years too.
Yeah, did that. That was my crash course into my career. I'm still doing it today, 16 years later.
Wow, man, you outlasted
That's
me by
dope.
far. I'm in sales, but not that sales game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've adapted to different ways to do it, but yeah, it's just you were the start, Jake. It was all with you, and Steph Notice was in that group, so that's where the seed was planted. And I just never thought I'd do this for a living, but it's worked out really well. I'm
Yeah,
grateful it's worked out.
yeah. You and Palu are still is Palu still in security? I can't remember if he is or not.
I'm
I
not
don't know.
sure.
I haven't talked to him for a couple of years. He's bounced in and out. Like I lured him back in, and then he left, and he came back. But I think he's doing it. I just haven't talked to him for a couple of years, but I'm sure he's still at it.
Yeah, that's
Yo,
what
for,
is super impressive about you, Brett, because this, like, for anybody that's been out there and knocked doors before, the mental toughness that it takes, and first of all, the skill to be able to maneuver a conversation with somebody that you just met, and then turn around and sell them, without getting into all the details, but get to know them really, really fast, and then get them to commit to having a security system installed a lot of times that day, and then before you leave, have the installer show up. It takes a certain set of skill, and then to do it for this many years, man. Super impressive.
Yeah. No, yeah, I still remember the Brian Tracy. You know, I don't
Psychology
want,
is selling.
yeah, I don't want to call it a trick, but what you taught me, and I remember using it that summer, and I remember I used it probably a handful of times, and I still remember the first time it worked, and the guy said, "Okay, I'll do it." I was like blown away. Oh my gosh, it finally worked! But I remember to learn that from you, Jake, and so I don't use it obviously as much anymore. It's a different type of sale, but those are good memories, man. I learned a lot about just hard work and pushing through, and so that's what I do. Like today, like tomorrow's Bobby Bonilla Day. Anyone who's our baseball fans that know that July 1st is the day that Bobby Bonilla gets $1.3 million for the next who knows how many years. He hasn't played in 20 plus years because of some bad baseball deal. But anyways, June 30th is always a kind of a cool day for me because it was a day. It's been 7 years now that I was working for a company out in South Carolina, and it was a good company, but I was kind of hit with the hard reality that the company was going to take away all my benefits because now they wanted every manager in office to be geared towards a goal, which is fine. That's a good thing. But I was very short staffed, and they said, okay, well, if you don't hit this goal by the end of this week, then you're going to lose every benefit that you have, which was
Mm,
health insurance, vehicle,
Mm.
a stipend, salary, everything. And so I had a lot to lose. And so I remember I was like, I have just got to grind this week. There's no one to help me. I'm short. I only had a few reps, and they weren't really working hard because it didn't really affect them. Whether we hit the goal or not, it was no matter of them. It was just when they wanted to work and was convenient, and that's fine. So
Yeah.
I was just driven. And I remember it was June 30th, and I took a picture of it, and every time it pops up on Facebook this day, I always forward it on my Facebook. But I remember getting the sale, and it was number 50. And so what I needed as to keep everything. And I was with this other sales rep, and we just push. And we had this nice single mom, and she was okay to do it, but she had to take her
excuse me.
daughter to choir practice. Well, she's an older single mom. So no, I was married at the time. So, but anyway, she had her daughter about to take her to band practice, and it was going to start in 20 minutes, and she wasn't going to be back till 8 o'clock at night, and my installer was not going to install anything past 6. So I pleaded with her, and I gave her probably one of those sweeter deals you could ever give somebody,
All the
and
points.
and the technician showed up, installed it, and her daughter probably never made it to band practice, but she got installed, and I hit my goal. And I just remember how happy and relieved I was and excited. And so today was a good day. Like, so personally for June, I didn't know how I was doing for the month. I was doing pretty good. And then I
Mm.
text my admin today. I was like, hey, my wife keeps harassing me. Where am I at for the month? She looked at it. I was like, oh my gosh, you just broke the office record. You're at 46 deals for the month. I'm like, 46 deals? Are you serious? And I was like, yeah. So I was like, man, what if I could hit 50 by myself? So I went out there today and I just pushed it, and I got 4 deals, but
Dang.
only got one of them installed. The other three are scheduled for tomorrow. So I fell short of my goal by uh by 3 of
Wow.
50, but still 47 in a month. I was like, so I just was reflecting back to the day it was, and there was kind of a motivation of why goals and pushing through and the reward that can come from hitting your goals and the hard work. And so June 30th is always kind of like my special day every
Mm.
year where it reminds me of, you know, the fruits of my labor when I can have success, and why I enjoy sales in general, not just so much the job of security, but just the job I'm doing, and the joy that I can get out of it, kind of other than just the monetary benefits.
Where in South Carolina were you at that point?
So I was living in a town called Somerville, which is like around
Yeah,
Charleston.
Charleston. Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
so I was
yeah.
in Charleston, but I was just knocking around just my little hood there, this little bubble I lived in, and just worked every day and found a lot of success there. Love that place, man. One of the best places I've ever lived. Great people. So,
Yep.
you know,
Right by the
I'm
beach.
by the beach, man. Oh man, sad, man. I lived in Charleston for almost 4 years. I probably went to the beach like 4 times because I was so
Mm.
driven about my career and work and other things. And
Yeah.
I look back to it now, like, man, I really missed the boat. There's a lot of fun things I should have rewarded myself with going to the beach.
Hey,
So
for those of you who aren't unaware of what we're talking about, so a lot of us, so Jake, Brett here, that's with us right now, myself, Tech, Coach didn't go with us, but a lot of Joe that's on the podcast, Donga that's on our podcast,
I see.
Asi that you'll hear his podcast,
Heck
but
came out with us.
we were all doing
yeah.
summer sales. So if you guys ever in your neighborhood and you see a bunch of dudes walking out around with clipboards and polos, wearing shorts, you probably ran into one of us. That's what we were doing, right? Can you essentially, guys,
Yeah.
break it down? What were we doing, and where did we go when we were doing summer sales?
Where were we going, man? I remember Jake just take me into a Jeep and driving to me some place in Minnesota I've never been to in my life. I was excited, and he was going to train me. I don't remember the name of the town was Hamilton, Miss. I don't know where it was, but I remember get out of this Jeep, and I just said, "All right, man, like I'm ready to learn. You know, train me." And Jake just looking at me like, "Well, I got an appointment I got to go to. Here's the clipboard. Here's the paperwork. It's pretty self-explanatory. Good luck." And he just drives off in his Jeep, and I'm just thinking, "That son of a bitch, ready to drive off when I'm here by myself. I don't really know what I'm doing."
I mean, I gave you some pitches. I gave you my
Oh
A
yeah,
to Z. I
yeah.
gave
You
you
Well,
my A
probably
to Z beforehand.
you
essentially
probably
we were
you probably gave me a lot of stuff. I think I was just shell shocked when you drove off, and I was like, "Oh man, this is like just me. I'm not getting gonna shout." So I
But
didn't. I remember.
you personally, that was probably the best thing that could have happened to you, right?
Yeah, it was. Man, it was just one of those things where it's a lesson in life where sometimes you gotta figure it out, and it doesn't mean you're gonna find success right away. Because I didn't that day. Within 2 hours, I was like, you know, cursing the skies, throwing my clipboard, like, man, what am I doing? And I called for help, and I found, I think it was actually was Joe T was not too far from me, and I think you too,
In the
Stefan,
gazebo.
noticed
Do you find
in
him
the
in the gazebo?
gazebo. Probably found him in the gazebo. There was a nice gazebo in that neighborhood that we'd congregate to. I remember there was a lot of gazebos that summer. But we I met up with one of those two guys, just followed him, and then a day or two later kind of went out, got my own sale, or someone helped me, and then they figured it out. And then I just figured that I learned, like, hey, I'm not here to have someone hold my hand the whole time.
Mm,
I've got to figure this out, or I got to decide to push through or move on. And I didn't want to quit because I think the competitor in me wanted to prove that I could do this, and I was all in. And that's the biggest thing with sales of anything is you have to be
mm,
all in. You can't have one hand, one foot on the boat, one on the dock, and
mm,
expect to just to figure it out like part time. Or a lot of people sometimes in sales like, oh, I'll just kind of do this as like a side gig. It's like,
mm.
well, unless you've cultivated it for years, it really isn't going to work that way. So there's other sales jobs I've been tempted to try and do, and I test the waters. And I've always kind of reformed back to what I do because you have to be all in. If you're not all in, then your chance of success is so slim, if any.
Mm.
So that's why I learned from the experience with Jake is when I'm out there, I was all in, man. There was no retreating, going back home to mom or whatever. I was there. I drove all that way out there. I was committed, and I just had to figure it out, and I did. So
Right. And you did really well. You learned real fast.
yeah,
You were focused, driven. I was super happy for you that you were able to, and you were really like the motivation for everybody else. Like Brett can do
Mhm.
this, right? Brett figured it out really, really
Mhm.
fast,
yeah.
right?
There you go.
Brett is, for those of you guys don't know, like some people thought maybe they would be intimidating. And Brett, tell everybody how tall you are.
6'7", so
6'7". So
pretty tall
right.
guy.
So, instead of making excuses, like, if you open up a door, average height of a woman's about 5'4", 5'5", right? So you
Hmm.
could use that as, oh, I couldn't sell anybody, I'm going to be so intimidating. Instead, you just use it to your strength. And that was a big thing that we taught is use your, if you look different or, in whatever way, if you're bigger boned, if you're more muscular, if you're taller, if you're shorter, just use it to your advantage, own it, and really just owning the situation. Because in your experience now, all shapes and sizes have been successful selling, right?
Yeah, it's you learn a lot of things, and there's sales tactics. Obviously body language is one of the first things I learned, and how to
Right.
stand and how to position myself. I'm a big
Yep.
guy, so am I
Mhm.
going to
Right.
be right face to face with somebody? No, I'm going to stand at a distance, and
Right.
I'm just going to come across a way that's not threatening. So that's the biggest thing is you people, they don't want to be threatened on their doorstep or however you
Right.
approach them in life. So had to learn body language is a big thing, and then just listening skills.
Yep.
A lot of listening, and just trying to figure out what the want was for the customer. And then I think the biggest thing that I learned is, in sales, the product can sell itself.
Mm.
It's who are they going to get it from? You, the box store, the commercial, or another person knocking on their door. So I just really learned to sell me and make it to where I was approachable and easy to talk to, and I could have a conversation and build, this relationship, for those of certain missions, they'll BRT, like they'll really show the trust. And that's
Right.
always what I'm doing now in sales is, trying to make a friend. I think a quote was told to me one time, make a friend, make a sale. So I was just working on that all the time. And I think that's what is strove to my eventual success. And to now, like, people, they like me, so they'll get it from me. So,
Right. And
Mm.
so, because people ultimately will buy, like the stronger emotion and pull to buy is an emotional pull, right? So, these are kind of like the rules that I live by because there's a lot of stuff out there that just have a product that you're selling that is good, right? So, first of all, align yourself with a system, product, service that is good. If you have the ability, pick one that's at the top of like one of the tops in the market, right? So one, align yourself there, and then be authentic, right? If you like people, you tend to do better in these types of jobs because again, people buying off emotion because they like you. And then in
Mm.
addition, you're providing something to them that's a good product and it's helping them and benefits them. Right. So if you align those things, but the most important thing is being authentic because, like you said, buying you, that's where it ties in there, right? They like you and they want to buy from you. That's all emotionally tied.
no,
So
yeah,
when
you're
they
definitely correct. Oh, go
so
ahead.
when they like you like that, when you come off as being genuine and sincere, do you think it's a lot harder for people to say no to you? Do you find it's a lot harder for people to say no or come up with different objections to get rid of you?
Yeah, I've come to find out people really don't want to tell me no because they like
Mm.
me. And so, not every customer I sell, you know, I've learned how to not be afraid to, sell out of fear. And no, we got to get them installed right away. They're going to cancel. We don't get installed. I don't have those fear. I schedule out people sometimes weeks ahead and they'll still go in. But I've had a few people, I'll have it happen, every month where someone will cancel the service or just install and they'll call the office. I'm like, why didn't they call me? I'm like, what the heck? Like I take it personal. I thought I thought I built a good rapport with them, relationship, but sometimes I realize like they don't want to tell me because they feel bad because they really
Mm.
liked me. They
Mhm.
bought because of me, but and then the emotion wears off, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I really want this, but I don't want to tell Brett no because, gosh, maybe I liked him or he was a good guy. Hopefully they're not like scared of me. Maybe they'll could be mad at them or something,
Mm.
and so they'll go through a different channel to do it, and then I'll find out, and I'm like, sometimes they won't even want to talk to me, but sometimes they will, and they'll apologize, but it is. I just tell people I don't get really mad. I say, it is. If you don't want it, fine. That's fine. I'll give it to the next person. You're a nice person. I'm not mad. Just it's always good to be honest and be upfront and what you're doing. So,
Right, right, and that actually is a very powerful being willing to walk away from an opportunity if something didn't feel right to you or or whatever, right? So that again, that gives you all the power. But there's a lot of when you're in the door to door world, there's just so many things. Like a lot of people don't like to say it's like taboo in the neighborhood to say I bought something from a door to door salesman. People don't want to be ridiculed, right? And so they're
yeah,
just after you leave because the other neighbors, maybe their spouse, they weren't there when they talked to you. If they were there for the experience, they all would have bought. But the fact that they weren't there, it's just they didn't see how good the product was because you presented the product in such a great way, but then after you leave they don't know, right, unless they
yeah,
go do some research. And
yeah.
so there's just some obstacles in the way. Again, that the door-to-door sale is the hardest sale there is in the industry. If you can do
Jeez.
door-to-door, you can do any other type of sales. I've kind of pivoted out in some different industries, and all my skills that I used, I use, and it's far easier outside of that. So because the breaking, literally, that's like the toughest. What's the word I'm looking for? That you're like in the octagon when it comes to door to door
Yeah.
sales. And you get it a lot easier outside when you get warm leads and you get people coming to you or different products and services. I've done a lot of different things out there. So that's really that's the crucible of selling, is to be in that door-to-door space. So Brett, you could go do anything you want now, any type of sales thing. You just need some time to learn it. It is a little
Yeah.
tough to leave the baby that though,
Yeah.
because it's provided you so well, and technically you're your own boss, right?
Yeah. I mean, I worked my way up, in the industry in sense I've been the managers or the branch managers. I've been vice president of sales. I even worked my way up where I was president of sales of a company, and
Mm,
I've done all the different things corporate wise for a bit, but I just kind of refrain back to what I do now because I think I like it more, and it's just the flexibility and your own boss. But there's the risk comes with reward. But yeah, there's always that inkling of interest to do a different industry, jump into something else. And obviously, I travel. I'm in Las Vegas all the time for work because living in St. George, security is not a higher priority as is here. But I haven't
Right.
found anything in St. George that's gonna obviously kind of match or equal, the kind of success I have here. So
mm.
eventually there'll be a transition to something else. Just haven't had any luck finding it yet. So till then, like I'm grateful for the hand that feeds me and keep going at it.
Right.
That's what's up. That's what's up,
Yeah,
Brett. What
yeah,
do you guys know if there's any other industries that still go door to door, cold sales like that? Do you guys know
yeah.
of any
Solar.
other?
So a lot of
Solar,
solar.
Solar
solar's
does
the
the
big,
same type of thing?
Yeah.
solar's the big one right now. Like it
Really?
used to be when I was a security rep. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're like the fourth or fifth security rep." Now it's up like, "Oh, they're right away. They're solar." I was like, "No, like security." Like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
that's
come
big.
come on
Solar,
in."
because solar is, unless you're dropping 50 in a month like you, Brett, solar's like the big money space for door to door right now, right?
Yeah, it is. And I've sold some solar accounts, and
Mm,
I think the reason why I didn't transition to solar is you got to get both feet in. And there was always that fear of like when I was doing solar, like,
mm,
wow, it's a big sale, but man, like it's a bigger investment. Oh man, this is like selling a house. It's going to take me a while to get paid. So those intricacies of fear would pop out. Like, man, I need to go pop an alarm deal because I can get paid tomorrow, or tomorrow, I can get a
mm.
sale right away and get
Right.
that gratification of worth my time. Or solar, it's a process, but as long as you get through the process, you'll get paid and you get great. It's fine. But yeah, solar's the biggest one right now. And then there's still pest control is a big thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't see too much dish or cable guys anymore, but that was a thing. It probably still is like
I remember
That's how I got
Kirby.
my
telecommunications.
start. Yeah, my very first year down in Texas, I did Dish Network. That was the
Did you-
first summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2002.
Mhm.
Oh, that was
That was
door to
my
door?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a big one, but I don't know. I don't see too much communication stuff anymore. I mean, you see some like cable companies will do that. Like pests, roofing. I mean, that's more like storm
Mm,
chasing. When you're chasing where the
mm,
storms are and you're going trying to get the roof sold, like there's a tornadoes that go through Texas or hurricanes.
mm.
But yeah, the big one's solar. Solar is the big one, and then probably security, and then probably pests.
Mm.
Those are the
Man.
ones I see. And water, where I live in Las Vegas, and it rang true in Phoenix, where the water quality is really horrible. It's the
Mm.
water treatment filtration people. They'd go door to door too.
Oh, okay.
Mostly the new homeowners, but they'll go because they'll say, "Hey, you live in Las Vegas, and the worst quality of water in the world here. You need to buy this." And it's a big buy. It's $1,000 buy,
Mhm.
but the sense is to give you clear water, not hard water, clean water, soft water. So water softener stuff is a big thing where I live
Oh,
for
okay.
work. So,
I remember
anyways,
I remember having the experience of door-to-door salesman coming to our house in Sparks selling Kirby vacuums. You guys remember that?
yeah,
The Kirby.
we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, it wasn't him. It
No,
wasn't
I
it
was
wasn't David
Paulo.
P. It wasn't Paulo, bro. It was some other brother, man. But he came
But
in
that's how
and
he got
guess
his start, though, huh?
was it?
Yeah,
Mm,
Yeah, he,
mm.
he came from Kirby.
yeah, I came from
Oh,
Kirby.
One of the
The fr-
reasons why he was good, man. That's a tough
Yeah,
sale.
it's a tough sell. But you know what? It's funny because when I was a kid, someone came and knocked on our door, and I didn't realize they knocked on it, but they sold us a Kirby vacuum too. My mom bought one, but it's an amazing machine, man. She's had that thing still to this day. She still has it and it works.
yeah.
That
My
first that
Yeah,
parents, my
first year in
mom bought
Mini,
one.
that first year in Mini, you and Paulo were like neck and neck, huh? With numbers.
I wasn't. No, man, when we were in Minneapolis, I was trying to figure it out. You know how many sales I had when we were in Minneapolis because I got there late. I didn't get there till if I would have known better, I would have got there a lot earlier. I didn't realize it was going to be that tough of a job. But I only had 8 sales when we left, so I had 8 sales in 6 weeks.
Oh,
not
then
a
we went to
lot.
Fargo.
I went to
I,
Fargo, and then I figured it out, and then
yeah.
I blew up and had like 20 plus sales, and then we had to leave and go to Indiana. I was like, why are we going
Mm.
to Indiana? This sucks. But then in Indiana, I threw down
Elkhart,
some
baby.
more, yeah, Elkhart, Mishawaka, South Bend, and I threw down another 25 in a month. In August, I did 25 in August. I remember that, and that's when I was like, dang, I'm kind of pretty good at this job. Maybe I could do it.
And he just took off from there, Brett. Now 16 years. Would you consider yourself a master of your craft? Would you consider yourself like that? Like how many years does it take to become a master of something?
Man, I don't know. I'm definitely not a master of my craft because there's probably higher volume guys that do more. But I think the way I do my sale, like I've shifted. I don't go door to door to door.
Mhm.
I gear towards the new homeowners, and then
Mm.
I get referrals, and every once, but I don't do the whole like door to door or go knock on someone else's door that has an alarm system and try to convince them to switch to take over. I don't do those anymore. I just focus clearly on new homeowners because
Mm.
they're in the buying mode. They just bought a home. They have good credit, otherwise they couldn't get in a house. Though I've been surprised this year. Some people getting homes and too bad to their credit. They don't have good credit, but they get in somehow.
Mhm.
But those are the type of sales or customers I've geared towards. I've found a lot of success in the last, gosh, 5, 6 years just doing it that way. So I've set up, I don't know, thousands of accounts just in the last 5 years. I just geared towards the new homeowners,
Mm.
and I just kind of found my niche or my delivery or my pitch that I feel like it gravitates them, pulls them in with interest, and then let them decide from there. But I don't know if
Here's
I'm a master of my craft.
That's what's
here's
up.
how here's how a new homeowner fails is because a lot of people just don't understand that the income, and they buy two new cars and like immediately after they buy the house, right? So
Yeah.
they accrue 120,000, or let's just say 240,000 cars, so 80,000 in car debt, and then they accrue the 300,000, $400,000 house, right? So if they only had like a 10,000 or $20,000 credit card before then, their debt to income skyrocketed. Now that'll drop like after 6 months, but that's how you, if you don't understand, if you don't keep expanding your credit limits over time, or if they're youngsters, right? That's how you take a 700 score down to like 610. I don't know what
Oh
you
yeah.
need to qualify, but you can drop 100 points that way.
Yeah.
So, that's the not understanding how that, and I don't necessarily think our credit system is the best, but not understanding how it works and in play, that's how you drop your score real quick.
Yeah.
Mm.
So funny story. I had this lead that I had saved. Was just waiting for the new homeowner to get in. Waiting. Sometimes it's a chase. They finally move in. I'm like, oh great. Give them my pitch. They want the alarm. There's one in there already. So forth, so forth. So I get in there, and right when I walk in, just tons of boxes of uh the Love Sack store. Yeah, so I've bought a Love Sack couch before. They're not cheap. And I got suckered into it because all I wanted was the damn Love Sack. I didn't really want the couch, but that came with it. So I did it. I ended up selling that couch within a year because it just wasn't as comfortable. But anyways, so again there, this guy's got boxes of Love Sack couch, like just pieces, and I know what it is. I know what he's doing. And I'm like, oh man, right away I'm thinking he probably has like $5,000-6,000 couch right there. And I'm thinking, I hope he paid cash for those things. Go in there, fails credit. Dang, brand new homeowner, military veteran. Go in there, wife barely fails credit. I'm like, dang man, they just bought up a bunch of new furniture off credit. They had
Mm.
no money for it. They probably dropped 10 grand and just a matter of days to a week. And that dropped their credit down dramatically, I'm sure, to where they barely didn't qualify. So that was frustrating. But right when I walked in, I saw the Love Sack couches in the boxes. I was like, man, I hope they didn't finance those because I knew that was going to hurt their credit. And it did.
So has the scoring changed over the years? What qualifies?
Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
score
So,
now? Yeah.
so when we started, it was anything 600 and above when I started. Before that, it
Mhm.
For
was for
some
lower.
companies were 625. It just depended where they put their subprime at, but some
Yeah.
some were because we got paid less for the less than 625. Some of them we just had have above 600. So where's it at now?
So some companies will still do 600. The company I worked for just last year around this time changed up their qualifications. So now they only will buy 625 or higher. So what we used to call a C credit, which was a 600 to 624, they no longer want. So these people who failed over a year ago, they would have qualified, but they were, I think one was a 623 and the other one was a 609. So
Hmm.
that's why they didn't pass. But with another company, they may have passed. They might have bought the account, but my company just doesn't want it. So that was like frustrating. They're so close, but cigar kind of situation, and
Can you
just
in-house?
I could. It just
It's
whether
risky.
the risk I
Yeah.
want to take, and housing is so risky now.
Yeah.
It's not as risky as it used to be, but I have some in-house accounts that, man, they barely made it, maybe 18 months to 24 months, and they went bad.
Mm.
So I've only had two in-house accounts in the last 3 years. I've made it full term, 36 months.
Is month
So
so it's still 36 months, and is it still around the same price point, like 40-ish?
so we do 36, or you can do 60. I really just do 36 because I think 60 is too long, man. I think that's a
Yeah.
long time. I'll
Yeah.
do I'll do them from time to time if someone is just adamant that they love it and they're going to keep it forever. But it's around the same price point, anywhere from like 39.99
Mm.
to 82.99 now is what you can charge, is the
Mm.
high.
With video
So
stuff?
yeah, with videos or smart locks or thermostats, all cellular. Don't do landline systems. Don't do Wi-Fi systems. And I don't finance the equipment. Like some people do that and they make a lot of money doing that. I just do it the traditional way. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm a fool for doing it that way, but I don't mind it. And I just want people to get their value, their dollar.
Yeah.
I'm still a believer that I want people to feel grateful and feel like they got value of the product they bought from me. I don't want to run into them at the grocery store and say that's the big tall dude that screwed me over.
Right.
Mm.
I made a conscious decision back in 2017, and even before then, but when I moved back to Las Vegas for a year, I was working in an area, and then I decided to buy a home in the area that I sold in. So I could just roll out of bed, be right to work within a minute, and I could be on top of the competition and stay more organized. But I made that decision that I need to really do good business and do good by people, because I'm going to run into these people at the grocery store. I'm going to run into them at the gym. I'm going to run into them everywhere. And I do. I go to the gym. I went to the gym this morning, and there's three people there that work out there. Two of them are customers. One was the guy just like was trying to sell, but they see me all the time. They kind of give me that look like that's the guy that sold me the alarm system. I run into people at the grocery stores. Took my little boy to go get like a Slurpee, and was eating like a Roberto's burrito at the gas station one day, and a lady walks up, says hi, and it's some lady I sold an alarm system to a month ago. So I'm going to see
Mm.
these people, and I don't
Yeah.
want it to be where they feel ill will towards me, like I did them wrong.
Mm.
And
Right.
that's important to me. I want to feel good about what I do. It's not about just making a bunch of money and slamming it and running away and just laughing at the banks like, oh, I got one over on these people and I'll never see
Mm.
them again. Like that's not the mentality I've tried to have for the last decade or plus. Is just do good business. It'll come
Yeah.
back to you.
That's
Right.
what's up. That good
Yeah,
energy, man. Good vibes, dude. Goes a
yeah,
long ways. That's what's up,
yeah.
bud.
So I mean, there's a point too. Sometimes when you sell product, people aren't happy no matter what you do for them, bend over
Mm.
backwards, and they'll say whatever. I heard a phrase one time that says buyers are liars. I don't know if I totally agree with that, but I've met a few buyers that have told some things that aren't true just to get out of remorse, to get out of the situation or the sale or the contract. But you just want to do good so people don't ever feel like they have to be in that situation where they're having to lie to get out of something because they felt like they were lied to.
Right. I mean, you cover for that when you do good work, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you tell everybody, like everything that anybody needs to know up front, you are upfront with the information. Like
Hmm.
those are ways to prevent those, in all the things that I've done. I've been in sales for so many years now, but um that's all you've got to do. It's not a big deal unless you try and hide something, right? And
Yeah.
and you just got to be upfront with it, and people appreciate that, and they'll actually like you more for being upfront for whatever, you know. For example, you gotta, let's say you gotta ask for the social, right? And if
Hmm.
you're all nervous about asking about somebody's social, how else are we going to run somebody's credit, right? So you just,
Yeah.
it's a normal situation. You've got to ask for it. It just is what it is, right there. In my industry now, when we acquire a new customer, that's something that has to be done. The
Mm.
tax ID, or the social. So it's just not something, people will expect it. But if you're all nervous going up to it, or you try and hide anything, or not talk about anything, for one, if they're shrewd, they're going to pick up on the oddness of it too. So it's just always better to be authentic and honest and upfront, and that's how you build a customer base, and that's how you get referrals. People want to do business with people they trust, and the way you earn trust is being honest and upfront with everything.
Yeah, I totally agree. It just, I've had a lot of lessons learned in my job where when I'm not totally upfront, or I try to sidestep, or I don't mention something because I'm just trying to get away with it because I'm selling out of fear that they'll tell
Mm.
me no. And it has come back to bite me a couple times. I mean, I think of a few memories where if I would just said the right thing or just told them up front, it would resolve the situation and they would have stayed a
Mm.
customer. But I remember I was training a guy. I was in North Carolina. We were in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I was training a guy. Do you remember? Gosh, remember that kid, Jake? His name was Brandon. I brought him out, and he was doing pretty good, but then he was being dishonest with people.
Yeah.
I caught him. He was a baseball player out of Virginia, but he's from California originally. So I think because that was the summer we were in Fayetteville and Wilmington, but we were in Fayetteville, and I'm just trying to train him. And remember selling from Montronics, and you had to charge activation. Like they wouldn't let us waive it. And so I had to teach these kids where I hadn't charged an activation like the year before. I didn't have to. I waived them all. So I was like retraining myself, and we're in this house with this older guy, and he's interested, very interested, and asking buying questions. And then to the point where, well, how much is it going to cost me to start? And I was trying, well, it's just all these things I'm trying to sputter around. How am I going to drop this activation? And I remember he looked at me and he called me by name. He's like, Brett, how much, don't let money stand in the way of my happiness. How much is it going to cost to do this or add this product? So I told him it was six. Actually, you know what it was? Is he wanted a glass break, and I hadn't even dropped an activation. I needed to, so I used the equipment as the excuse to get the activation. And I was hesitant. He just don't let money stand in the way of my happiness. I was like, okay, it's gonna be $69. He's like, there you go. That's all I need to hear. I'll pay $69 for an extra glass break.
Yeah.
And
People
I
appreciate the honesty.
yeah, and it covered the activation, even though that's what it was for. It wasn't for the glass break, but it taught me a lesson. Like, dude, just tell people, just let it out. I mean, worst case, they tell you if you're afraid of getting no's, you're not gonna progress and succeed, and not just sales, but just in life. You got to the
Mm.
no's are gonna come. It's just how you're gonna roll with it. So just be upfront, be honest, and like you said, Jake. It's just a better philosophy. It's a better way to do business and deal with people.
Man, Fayetteville was a good market. We should have stayed. Even though it's nice to
Yeah,
live in Wilmington,
yeah,
and it's actually where I reside to this day.
yeah,
It's a great place to live because we're right on the ocean. But man, Fayetteville was
yeah,
the market to sell in.
yeah. Fayetteville is probably one of the top tier markets I've ever sold in.
Yep.
But just gosh, to live there, I think that's probably a bigger reason why we left is just the grime, and we were ready to just live somewhere else.
Right.
But yeah,
Right. It was tough living
Wilmington,
there.
Wilmington's a little different. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Wilmington's a great place. I met a young couple today, not young, but they just moved from Charlotte, North Carolina. They're military. And I'm trying to figure out how they're in Charlotte. But I said, oh man, Carolina, like I love North Carolina. I used to live in Wilmington, and then I used to live in South Carolina. And so anytime someone's from the Carolinas, I always like to talk to them about it and relate with them and know where they're from because got to know those two states pretty well. A lot of
Hmm.
the towns and cities in them. So
Yeah, I was in if you remember Rayford and Hope Mills, I was there
yeah.
I was there 2 days ago.
Were you really?
Yeah, yeah, it's part of the territory I cover right now.
For
But
territory, there you go.
yeah,
It's a pretty state.
I have Charleston, Columbia, a lot of these places that I sold in, they're
Yeah,
in the territory I have. So I have Charleston, I have Columbia, and then up north through North Carolina. So Wilmington, Jacksonville, if you remember Jacksonville,
yeah,
that was where the Marine base was up there, right? Camp Lejeune and north of there too. So it's fun to run around all our old stopping grounds and
yeah,
like once in a while I'll drive past like a street that I knocked on. I'm like, hey,
yeah. That's
hey,
funny, man.
I remember that
Do
because
you-
we're going back 15 years for those days. I think when we were in North Carolina.
2011.
Oh, it was 2011. Okay,
2011, yeah. So do you
so 12 years ago.
12 years of sidestep, do you ever get all these emails about drinking the water at Camp Lejeune and getting in a lawsuit? I get all these emails. I'm like, man, I don't even think I ever stepped
Yeah.
foot in Camp Lejeune. I was in Jacksonville, but I just drank from a drinking fountain, man. I never went to the military base, but I get all these emails because they somehow know that I was in Jacksonville multiple times in my life.
Yep. Yep.
It's
Those
funny.
emails still get sent out.
Oh, I get a ton of them right now. I'm like, geez, maybe I wish I did have it so I can get some money. But but yeah, man, those are good places, man. Columbia, oh, tell me, dude, that's unfortunately the armpit of South Carolina, man. That poor town. Spent a lot of time there working there too, and there's some good positives about Columbia, but oh man, that's one place I'd rather live in Fayetteville than live in Columbia, believe it or
Yeah,
not.
Columbia made the top this year. I believe it made the top 10 list for most dangerous places to live in the U.S.
Yeah, man.
So
Yeah,
it's a bit rough with some of the stuff going on. But I'm there every month visiting.
yeah,
I'm in Charleston every month too. So
yeah.
yeah, big
Well,
difference between Columbia and Charleston. The upside with Columbia has a ton of opportunity to improve.
yeah,
They've big college town too, right? So you
yeah,
have some really big fans there. So there's some positivity
oh yeah,
from that aspect. And of course, Charleston's Charleston. Charleston's just beautiful and it has a lot of
yeah,
history. And
yeah.
you're by the beach there. It's got like an old town that a lot of people go to. It's got a new side to it. The river kind of splits the city, from Mount Pleasant down to the James Island area in Charleston.
Mhm.
So it's also beautiful.
Yeah,
Did you ever work in Myrtle Beach?
I did, man. Myrtle Beach. So
Yeah, that's my territory too.
as a yeah,
Yeah, so
I've
I'm there every month as well.
sold in Myrtle, man. I think the first time I went there, I was trying to figure out where all the people live, man. It's tourism everywhere, but
Yeah, it's
there's a
crazy
lot
tourism.
there's a lot of neighborhoods there. Myrtle Beach was good, but it's funny. It seemed like every time I went to Myrtle Beach was in the wintertime. It was always cold. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, love that place, man. Love driving up that 17 to Myrtle or Charleston, Mount Pleasant. And it's funny, I took my wife there over a year ago to visit so she could meet all these people and place why I loved it so much there. And she liked it. She really loved it. She actually loves Savannah more than Charleston. I don't know why, but she just the big thing that got her is she kept asking, I was like, are there gators over in that pond? Are there gators in that river? And I was like, probably. And it just really made her uneasy. I think it's because she's a mom. She saw that video at Disneyland where the gator came up and took the kid from the pool and took him out and put him in the lake. I mean,
Yeah,
that really
there's gators here in
happened.
Wilmington. Like
Oh
again,
yeah,
yeah, just like right down the road.
oh
Really?
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
Oh,
There
I
was
yeah.
don't
one.
know.
There was one in
They're a
my.
little bit more. They're not as like aggressive here, just because it's like we don't really get that cold, but we're warm most of the year round, but we do get a little colder than Florida. So you're gonna have different. The growing season's not quite the same. They're a little bit more. I mean, you don't want to play around, but
They're smaller.
they're in the well, yeah, they're in the Cape Fear River, and they're
Yeah,
in the ponds. And they can get big in some of the ponds that stay a little warmer, but
yeah,
there's not too much craziness with it. But yeah, I mean, it's just something once you come down to the south, it's something you got to be aware of.
yeah. So unfortunately, I'll never be able to move back to Charleston because she knows there's gators there. But
Mhm.
I watched this video. I think it was yesterday. I send you guys, especially you, stuff. I send you a lot of videos, but I saw
Mhm.
this one. I was in Florida, and these guys are golfing, and they just see these two come around. They come around the corner, see these two gators just going at it. Like I'd never seen anything like this. And the gator's got one by the neck, and it's just trying to snap its neck. It's throwing it
Wow.
around. And these golfers are like, "Oh my gosh!" They videoed the whole thing, and the other gator eventually gets out of the hold and survives. They both just kind of walk off to the water.
Mm.
They were
So
going at it.
you could do if you went to like Cape Hatteras or Emerald Isle, I don't think they're up that far. So a little north of Jacksonville, and you'd be
Yeah,
out of the gator range.
range. Yeah, and
Yeah.
down Charleston, they're just, I don't know. There's big ones, little ones. it's nothing I never had a fear about. Like, I see them, I just leave them alone. But I had
Yeah.
one. I owned a home in Somerville, Charleston area, and we had one, and we had a bunch of ponds in my neighborhood, and we had one in there, and I'd hear it at night barking. You'd hear it
Hmm.
at night, but I never saw it, but I knew it was in there. But that's why, I never, they have signs everywhere, don't go swimming in the ponds because give or take, you never know when a gator's going to be in there. So,
Well, it's because people that never had to think about that and like jumping in rivers and lakes, and had like people that went in Lake Powell growing up and stuff like that, where it's not something you ever have to worry about. It's kind of like a mind, blows your mind that you might have a dinosaur,
yeah.
just outside in the pond. It is something I think that is a little bit of a my parents moved to about 20 minutes away from me about 2 years ago now.
Hmm.
And it was just a lot of adjustment in the thought process there. It's just not something you ever would think. We grew up swimming in the Thousand Island River between Canada and New York, in upstate New York. And it's just, having to mentally process that there is an animal that could easily take you. A
Yeah.
lot of people have a hard time with that.
Yeah. So it is what it is. But it just makes me chuckle a little bit. But, not for anyone who's ever had to endure that. I feel bad for them. But not a fear that I ever had living there. But
Mm.
I'm trying to be sensitive towards my wife. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just a funny side note. That's why I'll probably never leave St. George. Just, or at least not live in the South because of the gator situation. So,
So outside of the selling, so what are your hobbies? You golf, you boat, like what do you get into?
oh man, I wish I could golf. I never have time, man. I grew up
Mhm.
golfing, but it's a very time consuming sport and kind of
Yeah.
expensive. But man, just these days, so I've been remarried for 2 years. I went from zero kids, I had three dogs, and down to one to now I have six kids, six boys, and one of my youngest son I adopted, and he's my son, and I'm excited. It's a great thing in life, but I really gear towards the kids now, like when I was just single Brett mode, or even my first marriage, I was all about like experiences, like going to concerts or sporting events or traveling, and I still
Mm.
love those things, but I've learned they don't come as easily when you have children, and you have to think of their needs and being there for them. So now it's more geared. I try to go to the gym 2 3 times a week. Not It's not as much as I'd like to, but to maintain that health, that strength, like you're talking about earlier, Jake, the vitality of weightlifting is important. But just doing sporting events, like I really fulfilled kind of like a lifelong goal or dream to like coach kids or coach my boys and things. And so I've gotten to experience that in the last 2 years of I've coached football, I've coached basketball, I've coached 7-on-7, coached baseball, which has become like my favorite thing to coach is baseball. Sport I know the least amount about technique wise. I don't know how to teach baseball. I'm learning on the fly, but
Mhm.
I love it. It's so much fun. I love seeing the kids find success, not just my kids, but other people's kids, whether they're get the strikeout or they hit the ball or catch the fly ball. So it's been fun just being with the kids and seeing them do things. A couple of weeks ago, I was able to take. We were gifted some baseball tickets to a game in Denver, which I had no intention of wanting to do because it's just a long way. But I didn't want to say no to the gift. It was a nice paying, tickets and hotel. So I took the opportunity and drove the three older boys from Utah away to Denver, and I showed them kind of my old stomping grounds when I was a small child. I was born there, and took them but we went to some baseball, some Rocky games, and then we went to a water park, and just it was just fun, just spending time with them and just doing something they've never done. They've never been to Denver is the biggest city they've ever been to in their life. Like I don't think they've been there other than Salt Lake. And I don't know, I guess I've been to San Diego, but they've never been to like a bigger metropolitan city like that. So it was kind of cool to show them around and just experience something different, travel, got a little taste of what I love to do is travel and share it with kids I love. And Stefan noticed you planted a seed in my head about some baseball
Mm,
tickets. And I'm like, why would I want these baseball tickets? It's in New York. And then it
mm,
just kept circling my mind. And all of a sudden I wanted to do it so bad. I took my oldest son who it was his 16th birthday. It worked out really well. And we went out there and just me and him, we flew to New York City for 2 days, went to the Yankee game, showed him around Manhattan as much as I knew, took him to Central Park, did the Empire State Building, like all these kind of cool things. Took him to like the Manhattan Temple, and it just worked out where I was up there when I saw you last. I was up there for our friend Jimmy Hartshorn's memorial, and
mm,
he, coincident, not coincident, but by chance was born in the Bronx of New York. And then
mm.
I knew I was like, I'm going to the Bronx, so I'm gonna bring his little mini urn with me. And I went to New York, and I made a little video, and I literally left his urn behind home plate at Yankee Stadium. So I thought it was kind of funny how in life how sometimes things work out like that. So I
Yeah.
try to live. I try to just live for experiences. That's what I love to do is
Hmm.
experiences, and I love sharing it with people if I can, not just flying solo in life. I've done that plenty of times. That's okay. And that was great. But I love just doing experiences, even if it's stuff around like going to a park or going to like some kind of event in St. George. I like doing that kind of stuff more than I do playing like the golf or the weightlifting or, you know, not how much of other hobbies other than, just taking care of the kids and doing kind of gravitating towards what their needs are. I'm learning still.
That's what's up, Brett.
So
Shout
it's
out
been,
to you, man, for
no,
doing
appreciate
that.
it. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
fun, man. I love it. It's definitely challenges as they come, but I like it.
Yeah, man. This life is full of experiences, man. I think
Yeah.
we're here to gather experiences, right? From
Yeah.
my perspective on things, gather as
Yeah.
much experience as we can. And
Yeah.
it helps, man. There's longevity in that. Having experiences with your kids, your boys, they're gonna remember this for, as they grow up and continue to grow up and share those times, create how you're creating memories with them. They'll have the opportunity to create memories with families of their own down the line. So that's what's up.
Yeah. I was listening to, you know, a little like podcast blurb from some guy, and I've heard it a couple times from other people. And,
Mm,
I have six boys, five of them are from my wife's first marriage. And then our youngest boy is from like just a fly by night marriage that should never happen, but they conceived, had a baby, and his dad's not in his life at all. So I'm his dad, 100%. I'm there. He
that's
has my
awesome.
name, adopted him. The other five boys, they still have their dad in their life, and that's good. That's a good relationship we have, and they're there with him for the summer. But the one thing I was hearing from this podcast was
Mm,
they said, that the years from when they're little till 10 are so important. Those are the years you don't really want to focus so much on work and you want to spend as much time with them, because when the time they hit 12 or older, then they really don't, you can work all your life and say, okay, now I've built enough of a nest egg. I've worked hard that I can spend time with you. Well, now they're teenagers and they don't really want to spend much time with you. They're off doing their own thing. They've got events. They have hobbies like we talked about. They're doing, music or sports or working. They have jobs, they have friends, they have girlfriends.
mm,
And so I've really tried to focus that anytime I can have with, my boy, he's 3 now, is just is everything to me, because I want him to remember these moments. I don't, it's tough when I'm away from him during the week, but like we're going to go on a trip here in 2, 3 weeks. And I'm so excited for that, to spend that 8 days with him, a lot of one-on-one time with him, and build those memories, because those are what
Mm.
he'll remember. Those are valuable. When he's a teenager, he's going to care less to be around me,
Hmm.
not as much. He's going to want to do his own thing. So,
That's what's
so
up.
that's what I'm learning.
Yeah, man, we're all still learning, right? We're all
Yeah,
still learning, man. So it's just a
yeah,
long process. It's part of this earthly experience that we have right now.
yeah, for
But
sure, man.
that's dope, dog. That's shout out to you. Shout out to wifey and the boys.
Yeah,
Shout out to all you guys.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, appreciate it,
Yeah, it's
boys.
great to have you on, Brett, because we're all entrepreneurs in our on this podcast, man. All of us talk about doing hustles, side hustles,
Yeah,
um, information that helps change our lives, that can help change other people's lives, and it's great for you to come on and share your entrepreneurial spirit and your hustle, how you pretty much taught yourself, and you had help from people like Jake and others, and on
hmm
how to what you're doing right now in the industry, in the security industry or sales even.
yeah. Security. I mean, yeah, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people have helped me along the way, and like I've tried to learn from everybody, and take from other people and make it my own.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like everything I say is 100% me, or I came up with it. I'm not the originator. It's other people's information,
Mm-hmm.
and things, their ideas and their thoughts. I've kind of tried to make it my own and incorporate it all in one, and that's been helpful. So I'm grateful for all the people who've kind of been just, I don't know, mentor me in ways whether they know or not. So.
That's what's up. Hey, what kind of we're all reading books, and they say that if you read books, it helps you on your cognitive, how you think and how you progress. But they also say there's a direct correlation for how many, or a person that reads more books tends to get have a higher, what is it, income, or they seem to be more well off, for people that are well versed in reading books or stuff. What kind of books are you reading right now that's helping you along your in just any facet of life? What kind of books are you reading right now, brother?
Man, I haven't picked up a lot of, like, I used to like to read, like I have a volume of John Maxwell books,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to like to read those. I'll be honest, I haven't dug into them for quite a while, man. It may even be almost 2 years, not quite over 2 years, but I've really, a lot of it's just been kind of learning about, for me, like the personal side, because my personal life has
Mm-hmm.
changed, and parenting. I've read a lot of stuff. I'm always reading, I'm trying to understand, how to be just not a good parent, but a good husband, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then just, spiritual side, scriptures, I'll read, come follow me. I like to listen to a podcast when I drive from St. George to Vegas by
Mm-hmm.
this guy named, he works for the church. This church name's Jared Halverson. And he has a PhD in anti-Mormon literature. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like a degree that was almost made up, that someone came up, and he's probably one of the few people that has it.
Mm-hmm.
But and he went to ecclesiastic school in Vanderbilt and everything. But he basically, his PhD is in learning when people have reasons to leave the church, or have
Mm-hmm.
things that are against the church. He people something, he's like the foremost expert. People will come to him and say, "Hey, you need to talk to so and so," and he'll just listen them out. He's not there to, like, psychologically get them. He just listens to them, and kind of shares kind of a thought of reason. But I listen to him a lot because he breaks down scripture, so when I read it, I understand it better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a lot of stuff I read. But like I love reading Johnson, is it Johnson? Yeah, John C. Maxwell. See, that's how bad I am. I haven't picked up his book in over a year plus. But I
Bro,
like
he's
reading or I like
yeah.
reading his stuff
Mm-hmm.
a lot and understanding it. I for
Walk
a
us back.
while.
Walk us back when you were like figuring out the sales game still. In so if there's people listening that are still trying to find like their authentic self, but also learn how to walk through some of the customer interactions, what were some of your favorite authors or books for the that helped you with sales? You mentioned Brian Tracy
Brian
earlier.
Tracy. Yeah, I've read Brian Tracy. Uh, just, probably only one Brian Tracy book, but a lot of his quotations and excerpts and things. Zig Ziglar, which,
Mm.
one of my small regrets in life, and because I just, was, uneducated about salespeople, was we were in Minneapolis, all three of us, and that
Mm.
Pro Alarm bought us those tickets to go to the Target Center and listen to this big sales conference. And I remember like the Bill Cosby speaking, and Susie Orman spoke, Colin Powell. But I remember it was lunchtime and we went and got, well, I think it was like Hooters. I'm like, got a horrible hot dog. And I came back and I said, "Oh, what I miss?" And the guy's like, "Oh, the only thing you missed so far is the guy Zig Ziglar." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, whatever. Years later, forward back, I'm like, crap, I had a chance to listen to Zig Ziglar and I never was there to listen to him. He probably would have gave me some of the best knowledge, and he's dead
Mm.
now. But the one speaker that spoke out to me, his name, I think his name was either his last name was Hopkins. I don't know, it was John Hopkins, not John Hopkins, but
Brian.
Brian Hopkins. So he's like he was like the real estate like expert. He had the Guinness Book of World Record where he'd sold a house every day for 365 days in a year. He's the first person ever to do that, supposedly.
Mm.
I mean, I don't suppose he probably did, but the one thing that he said that resonated to me, and I still think about, and I use as I grew in my career, and I would train people. Like for a while, that's what I did. I trained people all the time, taught them, is just how valuable no's are. And I remember sitting there in that Target Center, and he just said, "Let's say your commission is $125." I was like, "Ka-ching!" Like that's exactly what I get paid per sale right now. And so like I was more attentive. I was listening, and let's say that you get a no first time you talk to somebody in your sales, and then you get another no, and you get another no, and then it takes you till your fifth person you finally get that yes. Like, well, each one of those no's, and you make your $125, which was what I would get paid to start as a new sales rep per sale back then. But maybe he said each one of those no's is valuable. They're worth $25.
Right.
You needed those no's to get there. And I thought about that. That really resonated with me. And I was like, that is so true. And that kind of helped me overcome my fear of rejection. Not that, I hadn't been told no before in life, knocking on doors and other phase of my life as a missionary, but it was for the sales job, the game, and especially in security, is the no's then just even more just like rushed right off me. I didn't care. I just would
Mm.
run into the next house and I'd pitch and say, okay, fine, run to the next house till I get that yes. And then eventually, I didn't need as many no's to get yeses once my skill level rose. So, my work ethic was there, just my skill level was really low. And once my
Mm.
skill level grew, it matched up parallelly with my work ethic. And then I just took off.
Mm.
So I think the credit I had, obviously I had a good work ethic, and that you had to have if you're going to do direct sales. And then once you develop your skill level, then you can, then the sky can be the limit at times. So that's what helped. I really remember his speech, and that was the very first like sales person that I really connected with, and it helped me. And I think a couple years later, I did find one of his books, and I read it, and is interesting. A lot of it was kind of geared towards real estate, which I had interest in at the time, but it was
Yeah.
really good. It helped me a lot. But I definitely at my fault, I need to read more sales books. I definitely do. It needed to be more priority, because you're right. When you read things, it helps you. Um, Jake, you probably read what was the the book about the author about the scrolls?
Mm.
Man, it was that man, not Mandingo, but it was another
Mm.
good book that I read my second year doing sales, and it talked about these scrolls, and
Mm.
it was just kind of like I don't know, like a storyline with the sales, but it was amazing. Like it helped open my mind, and then it helped me spearhead to have within a few weeks really figure out how to be better sales rep, because it helped me understand people better. Augmentino. Og Mandino's book is one I on the scrolls recommend to anybody who wants to be in sales. That
Mm.
was a great book, and it's not a big, thick read, but and I can't remember anything verbatim because it's been a decade since I read it. But Og Mandino's book was amazing. Great sales book for him who's beginning in sales.
That's what's up. Thanks for sharing that, Brett.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice,
man.
man. Do you when you're like the equipment, has it changed much? Do you I see those Ring doorbell things all over the place. Is that something that's huge right now in the industry, in the marketplace right now?
Yeah, the DIY industry is kind of taking a big percentage or chunk of, my business. And
Mm,
so it becomes competitors. Ring is part of it. I ironically, my company, my dealer is one of the few that will actually sell Ring cameras and install them for
mm,
people. Um, we just have to explain that it's not gonna be on the same interface as our platform, but they're just so popular that people want them. So we just use it as a platform to create business to sell their products,
that's
their
cool.
camera products, not their
Mm,
home alarm. But yeah, it's changed. Like no one really does the old traditional like phone line alarm. Remember when it was either landline or cellular,
mm,
and everyone wanted to sell landline because it was cheaper and easier to sell, and the commission was the same.
mm,
Um, where everything's cellular now, everything you can control it from your phone, like anything in life. Everything has an app. The alarms all are app based. You can control it from anywhere.
mm,
You can even pull up the camera views on the keypad now. Like it's a little monitor if you want. You can see what's going on. And then you can just do full automation. You can have your garage hooked up to it. You can open shut your garage, your thermostats, control your heating and air, cameras,
mm.
door locks, water, drip. I mean, there's your lights. You can do everything now. Home automation, obviously, has been kind of the thing now for the last decade almost. So that's been around. But yeah, the DIY companies, the Simply Safes, the Rings, the Nests, the gosh,
Mm.
there's so many of them now. The Wises, the Blink, the Eufys. So there's so
Mm.
many. Um, and it just kind of makes it a little bit more of a challenge at times, but yeah,
Is
if
two
you edge
gigs
it,
still around?
it's what I sell. 2 gigs still there.
Okay, okay.
So I'm pushing 2 gig. That's my baby right there. But it's all about educating people. You educate people enough, then they're willing to listen to you and hopefully go with your product or what you sell. So it's a lot of educating sometimes. I mean, there's always the just lay down like, yeah, sounds good to me. Let's just do it. You're like, oh my gosh, I wish his life was just this easy all the time with these people. But
Right.
they're far and few between in anything in life, right?
Mm.
Well, there's not very many lay downs. It's kind of like, you can go on a date with, you're single and you go on a date with so many girls and you find the lay down where she's just like, is just down to just be like not apprehensive or have fun or like, yeah, let's make out, things like that. You're like, whoa, like wish all girls were like this,
Mm.
But anyways, maybe
Excuse
not the
me?
maybe
Uh,
not the best example.
where are we going?
I know, right? I know, man. I just yeah, anyways.
Yo,
But yeah,
yeah. It's incredible that Vegas is just skyrocketing with homes and houses that they're just building all over the place, aren't they?
yeah. So
And
3 million people now in Las Vegas.
wow.
And it's the interesting thing is Vegas, which shocked me, is now a sports town. We just won our Stanley Cup,
Right?
and it's from our team that was homegrown here in Vegas, and
Hmm.
it's everyone's a Golden Knights fan. It's awesome, I'm a Golden Knights fan. I got my keychain thing is Golden Knights, and it's just it's awesome to see in the city. And obviously there's Raiders fans, and now the
Hmm.
A's may come here. The WNBA team won a championship here.
Hmm.
So it's kind of cool to see that Vegas has transformed a bit into like a real kind of city where it's not just all about what happened in
Yeah.
Vegas stays in Vegas.
Right, right, right.
Like Vegas's new, coming out of the pandemic, their new slogan they've had is Vegas means business.
Mm.
It's kind of been their campaign slogan since 2020, 21, or they've tried to transition from the old Vegas saying,
Rebranding.
rebranding and what they say and how
Mm.
they market the city. So,
Well,
but yeah,
all the tech companies, or no, all the tech conferences, every freaking conference you can think of holds their meetings down in Vegas. Like I
yeah,
know.
meeting space is a big thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
the one thing, like I dated someone for a bit and we were friends and they worked for the Las Vegas Visitor Authority. So I
Mm.
learned a lot about what they did and a lot of it is what also was just tourism and how it worked in Vegas
Mm.
and Vegas didn't make their money by people coming over and gambling on the weekends from California or this, or even gambling in general. They make their money from uh the conventions. It's 60% of the business in Las Vegas is these conventions. Because during
Jeez.
the week they fill the
Mm.
rooms. Conventions are
Mm.
they're midweek, they're not weekend things.
Mm.
Because when you're
That's
at a
true.
convention, you're working. So you're here for work, then your weekends you can go back home.
Mm.
So the big conventions they're all over and they bring up so much business and take up so much rooms and it's all hospitality. It's not just the gambling, it's the food, it's the purchasing of things, the rooms, the big deal. So yeah, you're right.
Mm.
Every convention tech companies like Adobe used to hold their year-end party in Vegas and they'd probably at that party they probably had almost 100,000 people come to town that week
Mm.
because of the Adobe Christmas party
What be
during the year.
chapping what be chapping my heart is that the homes down there are a lot cheaper than the homes up north here in Reno. That's wild to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. I deal with new homes, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
always able to see the prices. I can
Right.
see every price of every home that I sell. And it's
Mm.
amazing how, like, I went to a house today and it sold last in 2019 for 400,000 and it just sold for 700,000.
Damn.
So it's $300,000 jump in 4 years. Unbelievable.
See,
Um,
this is the problem though, is like part of that value is artificial, right? And
yeah.
Come on now. Right?
because
Jeez.
imagine like it's not very many people that can afford 400,000, let alone 700,000, right? And so you can't price out the middle class. Like that's what's happening right now. We'll see what happens with the market, right? But real estate values, when you compare to how much income has gone up, it's typically for people to be able to afford a home, the amount of income they make has to equate to home value, right? Otherwise, I'll give you an example. The first home that my parents bought was 15,000. So, and their income was about double that, right? So, not making that much, but just giving you perception now, if you're making six figures, you're pretty high up because the median income, I don't know what it is in Vegas, but it's still around 50,000, right?
Mhm.
So houses aren't 25,000 anymore. uh, so
Uh,
that's tough. That's something we've talked about before too. It's just, that's really hard on middle class, but you're seeing people, of course, afford it over there, but that's a rare echelon of people that's able to afford a house like that.
yeah, I'm amazed when I meet people. And, my first home I bought was in Las Vegas, and I bought after the crash, so homes were pretty
Perfect
cheap.
timing. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect timing. I was just lucked out. No one still wanted to loan me any money because I never owned a home, so no one, I was a risk still. But I bought my first home. I bought it in Southwest Las Vegas. I bought it for 120,000. The bank would only give me 125. They said that's your limit. I remember I found a house for 140,000. I wanted it. It great, looked great. It was about 1,900 square feet. Bank wouldn't give me 140,000. So nope, no way. I'm not going to give you that's too much. You've never owned a home before. You're 100% commission, not going to do it. So I was like, great. So what's my limit? They said 125. So I found a house for 120, little gay neighborhood, and it was a nice home. It wasn't destroyed from a lot of these people who it was a foreclosure, but it wasn't destroyed. But I bought it and 3 years before that, it sold for 306,000,
Right.
and it's 1,400 square feet. I was just my jaw just dropped. Like how I just was new to the whole housing game, so I didn't really understand why. But hey, it dropped in my favor, great. And now I look at that house. I sold that home 3 years later, and I made a little bit of money on it and use it for the next house, and so on and so on. But I looked up that house several times since, and that house is back up to it's now well over $345,000,
Mm.
more than what the initial, the high point was. And I just, in my mind, can never wrap my ever pay $345,000 for that house. Knowing that I at one time owned it for a lot less. And I think my first mortgage, I paid only $850 a month. And back then, though, I didn't make a lot of money in the summer sales. So I was just living summer to summer. So I was trying to budget. And that, to me, that was a lot. Now I'm thinking, like, gosh, if I had an $850 mortgage, are you kidding me?
Mm.
Life
For
would be
real.
Life would be wonderful. So,
Right.
Sheesh.
so I mean, that's more than rent. I mean, rent. You can't rent a room for $850 a month.
Right.
Mhm. Man, that's
So
crazy.
it's just amazing how things change. But you're right, Jake. It's a lot of false equity, and it'll crash eventually. I don't think it'll ever crash to what it was in like 08, 09, but
Mm.
it's going to happen. Some people are seeing
Mhm.
it. There's some people are losing equity in their homes. I mean, look at cars right now. Cars were super over expensive. Now they're dropping back down, and people are finding out they bought these cars $100,000 on a truck. It's not even close to $100,000 worth a year later.
Right.
Yeah. Dude, I went to the car dealership the other day and I test drove this Dodge Ram 3500. It's the
Mhm.
extra long bed. That truck was $120,000. I was like, what the heck? That it didn't even look like 100. You know, a G Wagon, that's $120,000. Mercedes Benz G Wagon,
Yeah.
that's 120. This truck, I mean, it was super nice, brand new 2023. But man, $120,000? What the heck?
Yeah. It's amazing that the equity that people are putting in these vehicles, and they're,
Mm,
valuing them at, where
yeah.
you realize, like, is it really worth that much? Is it really worth paying that much for a piece of metal that drives me around when I can get another piece of metal that drives me around that maybe it's not as glamsy and nice,
Mm,
but it does the same thing, and I'm paying a lot less. So it's hard for me to want to spend that much money. I sold my truck,
mm.
and I babied it, and I didn't put a lot of miles on it, but I sold it for just probably about $10,000 less from what I bought it for brand new three and a half
Well,
years before.
well, you had one of those trucks that wasn't in the Tundra?
Yeah, the Tundra. I bought a 19 Tundra brand new.
Yeah.
That was like a reward to me in life and present,
Mm,
because I kind of overcome some things and find success. And I bought it, got a good deal on it because it just worked out. So I bought it brand new. I bought it brand new for about 50,000, 0% interest.
mm,
Put some money down on it. So I didn't have interest payment. So I just was like, this is good. I'm just paying for what I bought.
mm.
And so I put on probably about 38,000 miles, and I decided to sell it because, we've been remodeling our backyard in St. George, and we're putting in a swimming pool. And I looked at the interest rate for swimming pool loans, and my jaw dropped. I was like, I'm not paying 8% interest. Are you kidding me? So I made the conscious decision as a sacrifice of, you know what, I love this truck, it's great, and I own like hardly anything on it, but I need the cash, and I don't want to take a loan out. So I sold it to a dealership. They gave me $40,000 cash for it,
Well,
and I
those
was
trucks are in
amazed.
high. Yeah.
That was
That's,
amazing.
yeah. Those,
I was I was amazed. I was a nice truck, but I basically just, got everything back for about $10,000, and I had it for over 3 years.
mhm, mhm.
That's the
So
value in buying a brand that holds value,
Yep.
yeah,
like Toyota does, like the Tundras and the
Yep.
Tacomas, specifically the Tundras, though.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
100%.
and the way you can check against this is when you are researching, look at the 3 year old models and see what they sell for, and look what the sales were if you
Yep.
can over the past year, and you'll just know there's ways to mitigate a cost. If you think you're going to flip on a car, you may need equity, later
Mhm.
for pools or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Make good choices to cars that don't depreciate the moment you drive them off, where you have the ability to flip on it later. That's how you make good decisions.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. That's
Yeah.
one of those cars,
So
bro. Toyota Tundra.
yes, Toyota is just a great company. So short
Mhm.
story. So I had this truck and I had this hybrid, and this hybrid actually was a lemon, and almost returned it, and they gave me a bunch of money to keep it. And, so I had this Hyundai hybrid, and the last year, just things are happening, and eventually the hybrid battery went out on it. Well, 175,000 miles on the car, and they want $6,000 for a new hybrid battery. I'm like, man, I just can't do it. So I let the car go. I pretty much sold the pick and pull for like 500 bucks. It was kind of sad because it was a working engine, just on a hybrid battery. So I'm thinking, man, I just don't want to spend this kind of money in cars. $100,000 for a truck, $80,000, $55,000 for a basic car. I just can't wrap my mind around it. So I just started looking around, like, I got some cash in the bank. Let me just see if I can find something to just get me back and forth. So I find this kid in Hurricane selling this car that he bought from a lady, ironically from in Las Vegas, in the area that I sell in. Like, I knew the street he bought this car from. It was funny because I saw the title, and he sold it to me for like, he wanted like 5,300. I talked him down to like 4,700 because I saw that he needed new tires, but it only had 62,000 miles on it. It was a 2002 Camry. 62. So I was like, hey, that's not a lot of money. This car's almost 20 years old.
Yeah.
So I go ahead and do it, make some, get some new, had the original tires still, so put some new tires on it pretty shortly, and had something wrong with the axle boot. So I got that fixed, but I'm driving that car now back and forth. I own it outright, and it's 20-plus-year-old car, and it just runs like awesome. And it's just a testimony to Toyota.
Hmm.
And like, I was gonna give it to my oldest son because he turned 16, and then I kind of negated it. I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna keep it. He's like, why? I was like, because dude, this car runs great, and it does its job, and it's not flashy, but this thing's gonna run for a long time. And I don't even want to buy a new car because I just don't want to pay that much money, overpay. I'm waiting for car values to drop, kind of like people are waiting for house values to drop. I'm waiting for
Hmm.
car values to drop if I ever buy a car again anytime soon. But it's a testament, like you said, Jake. Certain companies, they just hold their value. Toyota is one of them. Toyota is amazing, amazing company. Like, I'd highly recommend anybody, if you buy a vehicle, Toyota is one that's gonna last.
Yeah.
So,
That, that's a pro tip
anyways,
right there, y'all. Pro tip right there.
that's a little plug for Toyota.
Mhm. Yeah, we need a sponsorship from them now. Come
Right.
All
on.
right. All
Look
right.
it up.
Them and Synergy Kombucha. Raw organic Synergy Kombucha. Welcome. I love this
So,
stuff, man. Have you ever had kombucha before, Brett?
I think I had it once. I
Man,
met a Russian girl one time. She was all high on it and telling me I should try it. I did. And
bro.
it was good. It was good, but never kind of took a liking to it, I guess.
Yeah, it kind of tastes like vinegar
Does it?
or something like along those lines. But man, y'all know I have the problem with the G Funk at times. But
Mhm.
I drank this drink. I was getting a tingling sensation when you have the G Funk come up in the up in the body parts, toes, fingers, ankles, and I drank a kombucha, and the next day I felt fine. Like there was nothing. I felt no achy soreness, no um health condition. But yeah,
Be
dude, this
clear, the G Funk means gout for
gout.
everybody else
Yes.
out there.
Yeah.
Everyone who already knew what I was talking about, yeah. Y'all
Uh,
know I was getting that gout sensation in my foot, and I drank a bottle of this Synergy kombucha, and the next day it felt like I felt normal, man. Normally it would have that sensation escalate, but it didn't, bro. I felt fine the
That's
next day.
wild.
it's
Yeah, I
good,
don't know if
man.
it was
Did,
the
did
kombucha or my
did you just find the cure?
Yeah, I don't know. But this thing says, not the I'm doing a plug or anything. This isn't like a paid plug, but it says these things. It's interesting. It says renew, rebalance, rebuild, reclaim, rekindle, recharge, and then it says on here nine
Rekindle.
9 billion living probiotics. I don't even know what probiotics means, but it says 9 billion of those things in this bottle.
Gut bacteria stuff.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
So it's healthy, but
Yes. So
Healthy bacteria.
how much did you drink? Did you drink the whole bottle or half the bottle before you felt good the next day? Like, give us some the details on that.
so this bottle is 16 flowing ounces, right? American US flowing ounces. I just drank one bottle, and the next day, that tingling sensation in my foot went away.
Okay.
It was
The
kind of
whole
odd, and
bottle. Got you.
yeah, the whole bottle, 16 ounces, and then I, drank water and stuff. But usually, I would have to like creep up the stairs the next day. But nothing, man. It was kind of interesting.
Wow.
Oh,
But
nice,
yeah,
nice
again, we
man.
are not health professionals at all. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's from my experience recently within this.
Oh,
But
I might have to try that, man. I don't have the G funk, but
yeah,
get
in
older, man, and the joints start getting
joints.
stiffer, and maybe
Yeah.
this will help my joints, man. Because I'll admit, man, my legs I get tighter and tighter around the knees and the hips, so this
Yeah,
might be a
man.
good thing. Might be a good thing to
Getting
try.
old now, man. You're getting
I
old.
know, I know. Man.
The recovery is a thing, bro. That is a real thing, y'all. Recovery from anything, going to the grocery store,
Yeah,
playing pickleball or whatever, man. It's
yeah.
huge.
I remember, when you're younger, you idolize all these athletes,
Mm,
and they talk about the wear and tear they put in their body. And so I use like basketball players for example. They always limit their minutes, and they
mm,
talk about how many minutes they've played in their career. And I'm thinking, they're young. You gut it out. You're an athlete. You go out there. Why are you guys sitting? And as I'm now at this age, I look at like the minutes, the so much that they play. And again, I'm just
mm,
using basketball. It can be football, it can be rugby, it can be baseball, hockey.
mm,
But the minutes they play, it adds up and it wears your body down. So
mm,
they've played a lot of minutes or a lot of time,
mm,
whether it was a physical collision or just it never none of that ever happened. It's just the time that they put on those joints, it wears them down and it affects them down the road. That's why like these older basketball players right now, they just not because they're getting older, it's just they put so many minutes on their body, not just as professionals, but as kids, teenagers, college. It's eventually it's worn it down. Your joints don't last forever. They age, and then
mm.
they just the minutes and the time you put into them, it can wear them down quicker.
Not only that, but like just even playing college ball. But can you imagine the high level of competition that's going on at a professional level?
Yeah.
They're exerting their bodies like 100%, maybe over 100, maybe that threshold that Jake was talking about, the V5, the V2s. They're doing that like consistently and constantly, during those
Mm,
minutes, the short amount of sprints or whatever. But 10x that, man. So when they go to
Mm.
recover, man,
yeah, it's
it has to be
so
something. Yeah.
I kind of understand it a lot better now, and
Mm-hmm.
see the wear and tear they put, and why now more guys rest. And it's not so much that like they can't man it up. It's just there's a lot on the line, a lot at stake. If you're a professional athlete, you're
Mm-hmm.
making lots of money or good amounts of money for doing what you do, and you want to last as long as possible. And so you want your body and your health, and you want to keep making as much, so you want to play longer. So you got to take care of yourself. And sometimes it's just reduction, it's self control, or I don't know. There's all these different reasons you can say, but I've just
Yeah.
learned a lot. I looked at Kobe Bryant, and I
Mm.
read how many minutes he put, and Jake can relate to this. I mean, and it's not trying to be funny, but I remember when Jake tore his Achilles tendon. We're out the sales, and he tore it playing basketball. And
Mm.
Kobe had
Mm.
the same thing, and Kobe had played a lot of minutes, and for Jake it was just whatever circumstances or what it happened. And I wasn't there, but I remember obviously hearing about it and the severity of it that you had to go through. I remember no one wanted to play basketball for 3 or 4 days because everyone just had that like, oh, I don't want that to happen to me kind of mentality. but just the recovery time that you had to go through, I'm sure, like I obviously haven't experienced that or understand it, but like I can't imagine. I have bone spurs on my feet,
Mm,
and I went to a podiatrist finally, and I don't have the best feet. They're bad, but he said, "Hey, so basically, I gotta to get rid of this. I gotta remove your Achilles tendon, shave it down, and reattach it." So it's pretty much like getting Achilles surgery. And I'm like, I looked, I'm like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, it's 3 months recovery. And he's like, you probably should do both. So we'll do one at a time. I
mm,
was like, so 6 months of my life? I was like, no, no, why don't we just do both of them? Well, anyway, so I'm just looking at my wife. She's like, you need to get this done eventually. And I was like, well, let's wait a while. Luckily, we discovered these amazing shoes, another plug, Hoka shoes, life
mm,
changing. Selling all my Jordans, don't wear them anymore, wearing Hokas because now I feel no pain in my feet and I don't feel like I need to get
mm,
Achilles surgery. But
mm.
going back to what Jake had to go through is just that your body, man, it just whatever wear and tear or whatever happens, like it's susceptible to, finally, you know, falling apart or things change. And so like for you, Jake, when you went through that, I mean, what was the recovery process? What was the work you had to put in just to get back to even to be able to get back to the way you once felt, like confidence
Um,
wise?
no, I never got back. I was able to kind of push it hard. I was in the best shape of my life, probably like 24, right? So by 30, like, and we hooped a lot when I was younger, and just that's what caused it. Was at 30, I wasn't in quite as good shape, in my mind trying to make my body do something. I was crossing somebody over, and I crossed over hard, and my Achilles just couldn't keep up, right? So that's what happened. Is it snapped. Now a little different from Kobe's. Mine snapped completely. It tore
Mm,
completely, so I couldn't walk on it after. Kobe
mm,
was able to walk off the court. That was kind of the difference with mine. So the recovery was bad. I didn't feel back to normal for 3 years after that,
wow.
because it healed probably in about less than a year, but the walking, my foot still would, my heel would swell. And so
Mm,
I'd had bad swelling for about 3 years. And then finally, after 3 years, it stopped swelling. But I still feel it. I never got my vertical back. I would jumped off my left foot. I never, I went from maybe, I don't know. In my heyday, I could about 30-inch vertical. Nothing to be too crazy. I could grab rim at 5'11", right? So I could jump pretty decent for my genetics. And coming back from that, I lost my whole jump. My jump shot was off. Everything was off there. It took me a long time to get back in shape. So by 38, I was in really, really good shape. I had done keto for a year. I'd been weight training since 32, hardcore. So for 6 years, I was kind of in the best shape of my life, and got to that point. But my basketball never came back. So, and unfortunately, I had another tear. I tore my abdomen, which I'm kind of coming back from. But yeah, I had an
mm,
abdomen tear at 38 that kind of knocked me off my diet, and unfortunately, I let it slip and didn't keep up with some things because had a that was a tough one to recover from too.
wow.
But that one came from me really pushing my limits. I love to weight train. I love to train hard. I love to push the limits, and I love to lift heavy. I didn't focus enough on recovery. So if I could redo it again, I could probably recover faster, knowing what I know about recovery, knowing what I know about how important sleep is, because I didn't sleep most of my 30s the way I should have. Even though I was training hard, but I was just working hard, trying to improve my work situation and trying to get promoted and all those types of things. And so I would redo things a little differently, if I could go back, knowing what I know now, right? But it's still like, I could still, if I stretch, I can still feel the difference between
I know.
that leg and the right leg. And I
Mm,
never got my explosiveness back to ever, on that, even though I got in good shape. So it's just
mm,
something I don't recommend you do if you don't have to do. If you can find shoes that take
yeah.
away your bone spurs, and that's one thing I'll tell you. I was dealing with bone spurs quite a bit, even when I was in great shape. So if you can find a way to not aggravate them and work around them, that's awesome. But mine went away without any surgery too.
Oh,
So
nice.
when they're
Wow.
so prone to like jump into surgery, there's just other ways to get around it. For me, I just wasn't, I kind of figured out I wasn't sleeping enough. I was working two jobs. I was working out hard. I wasn't wearing the right shoes at the right times. I had a bunch of different, I was like loving, and I still I can wear Chucks now without them hurting, but Chucks were causing the problem. I'd go deadlift or rack pull like some crazy weight and be putting a lot of pressure on my legs all the time. And I was doing 30 minutes of cardio after. And, I could have chosen like getting like 4 hours of sleep at night. So there was just like a stacking a lot of things against me. So I started kind of taking care of myself recovery wise a little better
Mm.
after that. And mine were able to go away. So keep that up, Brett, because I don't recommend going through. Now maybe that Achilles surgery is better now than it was, but part of it is I tore it pretty bad. Part of that reason was, so if they are unhooking it and hooking the back, maybe that surgery is better. But I don't recommend you go through that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. I
bro.
don't. 3 months recovery is too long. There's a guy in my ward. He had something with his feet, but he was in a wheelchair for a while, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So, anyways, I was wearing orthotics that they gave me. I was even wearing
Mm,
like an ankle brace. Hey, it was like you. I was wearing poor decision shoes. I was wearing. I was just wearing the same kind of work shoes. These Nike Air Maxes, and the bubbles were starting to get low and popping. I was still wearing them because they're just my work shoes. I was a creature of habit. I wanted to wear the same ones because whether it's superstition or not, I don't know. Whatever, sales guys getting those mentalities of things they like, but my left, especially my left foot, would just swell. Like you said, my Achilles would swell, my heel would just be so tender all the time.
Mm,
I'd have to rest it for a day or so before I'd go back. Even though I was driving, just put it near like the brake, the gas, I could just feel it. So, anyways, like for Christmas, I got these Hokas, and they look like Grandpa Disneyland shoes. Just a total joke. I know my wife. I know she got them. I got them at Dick's. They're on sale, and I was like, I'm not wearing these ever. She's like, just try them. Like maybe they'll help your feet. And within a week, I just started seeing a difference.
mm.
And weeks went by, and I'm like, I started feeling less pain, and now I don't feel any pain. I was just rubbing it right now as you're talking about the
that's
swellness,
awesome.
and it's not tender at all. Like I can rub and push it. I don't feel any tenderness at all. And
Shout
I
out
was
to your
just
wifey.
yeah. So I just wore these shoes every day, like for work. And now they've gotten so dirty and disgusting that for Father's Day, she got me another pair. So I'm wearing a
Mm.
brand new pair now. And I just the same feeling. So yeah, I'll just plug for Hoka shoes, man, for anyone who has foot
Wow.
problems. Great shoes to wear. Like at this point, I don't care about style. It's about comfort, being happy. So
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Take care of your feet,
oh,
peoples.
take care of your
Yeah,
feet,
for real.
man. That's important.
Man,
Thing.
this is we have what how long? Man, this is about 2 hours now. We thank you, Brett, for coming on, for your impromptu showing up here and talking with us. You're welcome on here anytime, bro. You're
Yeah.
a natural born encourager, one of our brothers from another mother. We've known you for several years and appreciate your friendship and just coming on here sharing a little bit of your experience. You've always been someone that I've known that's worked super hard, super honest. You're salt of the earth type of people, and that's who we want around us. When we're going through life, we want people like you. And just thank you, man. Thank you for everything you do. I appreciate your friendship and everything that you shared with us today. Do you guys have anything else you want to share? And we can just wrap this up. Just to finish out the rest of this podcast. Anything else you want to say, Brett or Jake?
No, thanks for inviting me, man. Thanks for, I know, chewed your guys' ear off, probably talked a lot, but
Nah.
appreciate when we hop on, and definitely would love to hop on other times, other broadcasts, podcasts you guys have, and just learn. It's good to be around a wealth of knowledge. As you get older,
Mhm.
that's the good thing. You're around older people, so you have more experience and knowledge to draw from and learn from other
Mm.
people. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
lift each other up, man. At this point, all the valuable experience we have. And, and I've realized that's one of the most important things. I love that you kind of you were able to find, like, you love sharing experiences more with other people, specifically your boys, versus just kind of going on your own. And that's kind of like the point of the brotherhood, and we try and encourage that, right? It's
Mhm.
so important to have those brothers around you that you can rely on, that you can bounce ideas off, and then you guys can, we can all lift each other up together as well, and find more success, both financially, in our friendships, and spiritually as well. So, we're trying to elevate together, and so that, that's the message out there for us and for everybody else. So yeah, much appreciated your words of wisdom and your friendship, and I can't wait till we get a chance to get back together around a bowl soon.
Mm.
Yeah, it'll be fun, man. We got
100%.
good times with both you guys. A lot of memories on both sides. So good.
So many memories.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep, yep. Well, thank you
Well,
again, guys. Thank you, Jake and Brett, for being on this episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Good night, everyone.
good night.